Kickass Radio, hosted by Jo Sainsbury, founder of Kickass Women. Join Jo over the next hour as she shares stories and conversations that are both inspiring and empowering. Having spent over 30 years in the corporate sector, Jo Sainsbury kicked off her heels and became a coal train driver working in the rail and mining industry. It has been her goal ever since to empower and support women who are considering a career change into an industry role, making the transition as smooth as possible. Jo is a walking, talking success story of how taking the plunge into industry can open up a world of opportunity. And you can do it too. If you're a woman working in industry or considering a career change, this is the radio station for you. Let's get into this episode of Kickass Radio.
Hey there, Glo-getters, and welcome to the Kickass Radio Show. Am I excited for today's show? You bet your kick-ass I am. Do you feel like, well, you never get on top of things, no matter how hard you try? If this is you, then you have come to the right place. Each generation of mums has had its challenges, but for today's women, there's a new goal to strive for, to be a supermum. Are you feeling the pressure? Being a mum is tough. It's a tough gig. Now throw in business as well, and you have your hands full and then some. So being a mum in business not only comes with an increased workload, but it also comes with its challenges. Now, there is always something to do, and it can be difficult to get everything done. And I know for me that I face various challenges throughout my everyday, and my kids have flown from the nest. But a mum, she drops the kids off at school with their fruit-filled lunch boxes and heads off for a bit of mummy and baby yoga maybe, or a bit of shopping before going home to hang out with the washing, which she'd cleverly put in before the school run. She may be breastfeeding the baby, who then sleeps for 2 hours while she puts a healthy casserole dinner in the oven and works on her successful online business. Now, she's a super mum, and guess what, ladies? She doesn't exist. But that doesn't stop us from wanting to be just like her. Under pressure? So where does supermum syndrome, the idea that we can and should be able to have it all, come from? Well, once we find out, as we inevitably do, that we can't achieve perfection both at home and at work, why do we feel so guilty and deflated? For most of us, living our dream life seems to be a notion doomed to float amongst the stars. Too often we are held back by what we think we should be doing and what we feel is safe. My guest today, Katrina Worm, has experienced many challenges and much adversity throughout her life. Against the odds and through sheer determination, she has been able to make the impossible possible. By learning from, rather than being beaten by obstacles, Katrina has been able to navigate her life's path to her dream life. Now, an empowerment coach, she enjoys helping others traverse similar hardships to what she experienced herself. Katrina gives her clients the guidance and tools they need to empower themselves to live their best life. So today on the show, we're going to hear how sometimes it's beneficial and eye-opening to see what works well for others. And you never know, this might be where your own answer lies. You are listening to the Kickass Radio Show Kickstart, where we talk about all things women working in non-traditional roles in varied male-dominated industries and some, and I tell you how it is. I'm your host, Jo Sainsbury, the Glo-getter. I hope we can keep you in good company today over the coming hour. And a huge shout out to all the women working out on site and on track today. Stay safe and have a great day or night shift. And this might also be a good trigger warning that today's show may and does contain some adult language. All right, let's get into it. Welcome, Katrina, and thanks for being a guest on Kickass Radio Show. How are you today?
So, all good, Jo. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you here, and I know we're going to enjoy listening to what you've got to tell us, and thanks again for sharing some of your valuable time with us today. Now, we're eager to hear all about you, so let's kick start it off. Firstly, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career journey and what made you pursue a career as a life and empowerment coach.
So it was really, I guess you could say I fell into it. It certainly wasn't somewhere where I was going. So I work as a trainer, facilitator and a manager for Qantas, for our nation's airline. Excellent. And when our son was born, who is now a teenager, we realised that there was other things going on. And I think all mums pick up when something's going on that may be different to the norm with their children, especially when they're babies. So we ended up at a school for 2E children, which is children who are considered twice exceptional. So our son was gifted, yet he had some physical limitations going on. So he was born with hydrocephalus, which is fluid on the brain, and also very limited, if not at all, any bowel function. So we ended up at this school navigating this whole new journey of having a child that didn't fit into the box or the stereotypical way that the milestones that children are achieving. And so I started educating myself. I started learning about children who live outside what we considered, mainstream. And then I had the school reach out to me and say, can you start helping other parents? Or can I give you this other parent's phone number? Would you be able to chat to them, when they first came to the school? Would you be able to show them how you're navigating? So it really just came out of what was a need, because when you're parenting neurodiversity or a child who's neurodiverse, there is a lot of accommodations that we can do for the child. So we can send them to speech pathologists, to OTs, to different professionals. But for the mum who's stuck in the middle of this big new world, there was nobody who could just sit with her and go, it's okay, I've got you. So that's where it actually started all those years ago. To, as I said, in the past, I've studied counselling and psychology and management, of course. I've got numerous degrees, but coaching was never on my radar. But what I love about it, it's just being there for that particular individual and helping them get from where they are today to where they want to be. And that's where my path started, was working with mums of neurodiversity.
And I really applaud you for that. You stood defiant and resolute across much of your life, and to weather through those challenges to what you do now, and to be so giving, and it's great empowerment. And I'm sure that those mums that have worked with you and received that coaching off you, they're so much more empowered and traversing their own journey a lot better off now. So yeah, you seem to have brilliantly captured the fears and the failures, but successfully challenged the status quo there. So congratulations to you for doing and being on that courageous journey.
Thank you.
So introduce us to your business, aptly named Stress-Free Supermum, and tell us about the business. And I know I was going to ask you where was the startup, or what instigated the startup, but we've just heard a little bit about that. But yeah, definitely tell us all about Stress-Free Supermum.
Well, Stress-Free Supermum actually came into being during COVID. So my previous business working with, I still run it, but was just katrinaworm.com.au. So that was working with mums of neurodiverse children. And then during COVID, I had all these mums at home, homeschooling, trying to run their business, trying to keep their kids on track, worried about their children's development, worried about, how they were impacting their child, how they could help their child. So I had mums reaching out to me saying, look, I know my children, don't fit into your category of neurodiversity. Like, my children are just, run-of-the-mill, average kids at home, but I'm really struggling. So can you help me? So once again, something that wasn't planned, something that I hadn't set out to do. So Stress-Free Supermum was born out of the need of just mums being at home saying, can you just help me get my language warning shit together? Yeah. Because I'm so overwhelmed, because suddenly I've got all these kids at home. I'm meant to be homeschooling them. And I said, no, we don't homeschool, we home supervise. There's right. No homeschooling going on here. And, can you actually help me? And so Stress-Free Supermum was born out of that. So I put a lot of the things that I do one-on-one, I put them online. So I put courses online that mums could just quickly do themselves. So just downloadable PDFs just to help them start getting their mindset. Because my whole focus of my business, I figured out really early on that mums need to take better care of themselves.
Definitely.
And I don't think that's world-shattering news. I think we all know that. But what I realised is I could say this to mums until I was blue in the face. And, you know, people talk about self-care. Oh, go and have a massage or have your hair cut. Now, if you're a mum and you're overwhelmed and you can't see the wood for the trees, lying on that massage table, sorry, honey, you're not relaxed because you're still thinking about the 20 million other things that you've got to do.
That's right.
So
the mind can't relax, can it? Because it's constantly trying to work out, how am I going to handle this?
Yeah. And what, you know, I've still got to do this. So what I realized really early on is that mums are stressed, especially during COVID and coming out of COVID. So if I could help them go one step back and help them get organised in the home and start delegating to our children, because guess what? Kids can do a lot of stuff in the house. Start delegating to our children and actually run the household more efficiently. And it's funny because I do write procedure, you know, for Qantas. It's something that I've been doing for many years. So helping mums basically put standard operating procedures
together. They're SOPs, their own household SOPs.
Yeah, pretty much. And, you know, your listeners would be, you know, used to SOPs.
That's right.
You know, put them into the household.
Yeah.
So they actually knew what was happening every day. And then they then had that breathing space. Well, I call it the initial, you know, 15 minutes a day, time for you. They then had that breathing space where I could start working on the stuff I actually wanted them to work on, which is about the true self-care, and the mindset of actually needing to put themselves first. So then they're better able to look after their family and friends and their community. So for me, it was having to take that one step back and go, look, these mums actually need my help getting their shit together first before I actually can help them, you know, move on to those other things I actually want them to have.
And that's great, because in true sense, when we've got structure at home, when we follow the routines that we create, things flow. And to actually install that in kids at a small age, and that's right, they need to learn responsibility of having chores assigned to them. They need to learn responsibility and accountability to get those chores done. And if they don't get them done well, there is, you know, you take accountability for not getting them done, and there is consequences. The PlayStation will, you know, be out of reach. The mobile phone will be out of reach. You need to be responsible. And yes, create new routines and set those schedules in place, because once they're in place and once everyone knows their allocated tasks and roles, everything does come together and it flows, and they will find that hey, hang on a minute, I have got time to go and do this now. Or and as you said, like, the resources are aplenty for children, but for the mums, not so many. So what you've created in your downtime there with lockdown, that's a great resource for mums, and it gives them something else to get their creativity going as well. Like, sitting at home, when they find they have a bit more spare time, that's when they can concentrate on themselves a bit more. So, and maybe, you know, work on their own professional and personal development there, because they have actually found the time to do that.
Yeah, I think I used to call it, you know, the land of tomorrows, because I had so many, and I watched it with friends too, saying, you know, because they'd seen me, you know, running seminars or basically going overseas and, you know, speaking at different events, and they're like, well, how do you have the time? You know, I don't have time for that. And I said, well, I make time for that. And they go, oh, no, look, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And I said, well, what does tomorrow mean? Oh, no, look, when my kids go to school. And then it becomes, oh, no, look, when my kids go to high school. Oh, no, look, when my kids are at university, I might do that French class or take up painting, or, you know, I'd really love to ride a horse again, because I used to love doing that when I was 8 years old. But I'll do that, you know, tomorrow. And I go, you've got to stop the tomorrows, because if you're not showing your children now how you respect yourself and how you can live your true life, number one, what are you teaching your daughters, and what are you teaching your sons of how a female can actually be present in this world and can actually do what lights her up every day?
Exactly right. So well said. So that's so true. We need to live and lead by example, and we need to actually educate our own children from the get-go on this is how we should be living our life, and this is how we set ourselves up for success and balance in our life. So we'll get to your programs a little bit further on, but I just wanted to say you're great at supporting these mums, especially with the neurodiverse children. There's so many out there that we're hearing more and more of families and parents struggling with children of, not so much special needs, but everyone's got their own issues at home, and they need to ask for help. They need to take stock of where they are. And as you said, it's a land of tomorrows. If you don't be responsible and take action today, tomorrow will never come. That tomorrow will never come because you're living day by doing the same old routine where you're not taking action, isn't it? It's it all comes back to being accountable to yourself, where you do need to step out and put those plans and actions into place.
Yeah, and look, I think we've only got us, and look, we're only really here for a short period of time. So, don't want to sound morbid, but what do you want people to speak about you after you've gone? And what legacy do you want to leave
behind? Yeah.
Yeah, for your children or for your grandchildren, or, if you're not vocal and you're not saying what you need to fulfill you, then why are you here? And I think we're all here for a purpose. And it could be, I write in my book, like it could be to cure cancer, or it could just be to be that person that gives the best hugs.
Yeah.
But you've got to be true to yourself, and you've got to, so many of us, we get on this, treadmill where the good girl who we get through school, we either go for uni or we go for the job, or we're so busy pleasing everybody else, and we become the mother, and we're trying to create this perfect environment to have these perfect children who will get into the perfect degree and go to the perfect university. And then we're just trying so hard of the shoulds and the coulds. We've actually become, those human doings rather than human beings.
Yes,
and when did we lose touch with, not the woo-woo, but when did we lose touch with, oh my God, look at this, sunrise. Oh my gosh, look at the moon. When did we lose touch with that side of ourselves to show our children that life is meant to be living? It's not meant to be on this constant merry-go-round of, having to constantly achieve or having to constantly keep up with, the old adage of keeping up with the Joneses. Like, that's not what living's about.
And it's exactly right. It's appreciation and gratitude, and it's the real world. We need to accept and be grateful for the real world. And I know I had that flag to talk about, imposter syndrome, because it's the inner experience of believing that you're not good enough or you're not competent enough, whether it's as a mother, whether it's as a partner, whether it's as a friend or a worker. We all go through that imposter syndrome, and you really have to kick out that inner critic inside and boot it out and focus on what you are good at. You're good at many things, and you just need to, as you said, live to your own authentic self and live to your purpose and let that shine.
Yeah, I've got, one of my coaches, because I'm one of those coaches that always has coaches. And I think when you find a coach, ask them if they've got a coach.
That's
right.
Then,
they're being congruent. But one of my coaches once said to me, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. And you sort of go, what? That's not right. That's not what I've always been told. But when you actually think about it, you're not going to get it right the first time. So
by any means, no,
we get so caught up in that. If I'm going to do something, it has to be perfect. It has to be right the first time. Well, no, because that's keeping you stunted, and it's not, giving it a go. And the funny thing is, I've won, I don't know if you can see them behind me, but I've won major international awards, which is so bizarre for what I do, considering it's just me sitting in my home office coaching women, via Zoom or Skype or over the phone. But it's because people see that I'm so passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And that's, impacting one mother's life at a time, because that shines out. And I remember saying to, because, you know, my study door, my office door gets shut when I'm coaching because it's totally confidential, you know, when I'm with my clients. And I remember coming out of a session once and I said to my son, oh, what do you think about mum coaching? Because, you know, he knows what I do. He doesn't know who I coach, but he knows what I do. And he said, I love it. I said, what do you mean? He said, Mum, you get to help other mums. You get to help people. So what legacy are we leaving for our children?
Exactly.
Because they see what we do. They don't listen to what we say. They watch what we do.
We do. That's
So
right.
what are you role modeling for your children? Now, do you want your children to go to university? And this is just a really basic question. Do you want your children to go to university not knowing how to look after themselves? So not even knowing how to cook a meal or to do their washing, or just to be able to front up into a job and take instructions and take accountability for what they're doing in that job? If we don't teach them that in the home, they're going to learn it elsewhere.
Exactly.
And I'd rather they learn it here, where they can make mistakes and I can support them. And, you know, there can be, I guess, an intern in their own house, if you want to put it that way. But I'd rather they learn the lessons here with your support. So then you're sending your children out into, and that's really what parenting's all about, is to be able to.
It's creating their work ethic. It's setting the stone to create a good and valued work ethic where they respect timelines, they respect, you know, reporting back, and not being afraid to speak up if they have done the wrong thing, or, you know, I did do this wrong, or I haven't done it right. How can I fix it? Or, you know, it's setting the foundations of building their work ethic and their life ethics, or living into their values that, you know, you've helped them create and identify.
Yeah, and, you know, most of your listeners would know, you know, we self-report. You know, at Qantas, we have what we call a just culture. You self-report, so then we can actually track it and see whether, you know, it's a systemic issue that we can actually fix. So we need our children, I know this is going to sound bizarre, we actually need our children to fail.
Yeah. And
we actually need them to fail. We need them not to hand in assignments. We need them to forget their sports top. We need them, I know this is going to freak people out, we need them to forget their lunch. Because trust me, I'll only do it once. But we need that. We can't. It's funny, I was talking to a client in the United States, and she said, we have a new mothering term called snowplow parenting. And I go, what the hell is that? And she said, basically you stand in front of your children and you clear all their obstacles. And I've gone, hell no, we're not doing that. I want to throw as many obstacles as I can while that kid's under my roof, so they learn to overcome them themselves. Because trust me, I'm not walking into their first job with them and speaking to their boss.
Exactly. And where does that lead them throughout the rest of their life, you know, having to rely on someone else all the time to get them through whatever they need to face. And success doesn't come without failure. And that's the biggest learning point that I've you know, learnt myself. Success does not come without failure, and many failures. And the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest celebrities, the greatest, you know, leaders of the world have all failed many times before they've succeeded. So kids definitely need to learn that, yes, it's good to fail at so many things, because you will succeed in your learning, and you'll learn from that so much more and value it so much more.
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, it's about putting yourself out there, and it's about trying. You know, it's very easy. You know, we have a saying at Qantas, you know, an aeroplane's not meant to be sitting on the ground. So if you're not actually, you know, out there putting yourself there and trying, you know, if you want to stay in your safe comfort bubble, then we're missing your greatness, because you never know what you can achieve until you try.
That's right.
So, you know, I certainly, as I said, you know, my life trajectory wasn't becoming a coach, but it's something that I was called to do, and now it's the greatest passion in my life. So you just don't know until you put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's right. So after we've been talking about what you do, so if there's a mum out there looking for a bit of assistance, what can your clients experience during a session or multiple sessions with you? What does a day in the life of a session with you look like, Katrina?
So with me, it's really looking at where you are now and really where you want to be, which really is what coaching is about. So for me, I look at their household situation, so how many children they have, what the household setup's like. We look at, I have something I call Sunday setup. I know, very boring name, but that's basically what it is. So what I do is help the mum basically plan, firstly, their week. So we do it all on a Sunday. I get them planning weekly for the full week on a Sunday. We talk about scheduling. We talk about meal planning. I know that's boring, but trust me, it works.
It does.
We talk about meal planning, and we talk about delegation to the children. So what we do is we set up a system so children are responsible for their own, starting with school uniform for the week. So they have to wash it on a Saturday. They have to fold it and put away. Because when children put away their own clothes, they know where they are. So in the mornings, you don't have the mum, where's my insert whatever here, because the child themselves is responsible for it. We also talk about school lunches. They all get done on a Sunday. So what it's about is having a look at your week on a Sunday, sitting down with your children and going, okay, it could be half an hour every Sunday afternoon. And look, if you're all busy with sport and everything on a Sunday, pick another day, but it's planning out the week. So that's where we start. And that way I get to know my client, and then I get to know what lights are up. So a lot of the coaching is about looking at the actual goals they want. But as I said, until I can get her organised in the house and take that weight off the shoulder, then we start looking at, okay, what did you love doing when you were 8 or 9? Were you a reader? Were you out with animals? You know, what was your dream to be? I've had clients who started with me and they were teachers. Now they're running their own companies. Or I've had clients and say, I've always wanted to write a book. I go, great, let's do that. I go, what do you mean? I go, let's write your book. And now, you know, they're published authors.
Yeah.
So it's getting them organised in the house first and working out how that is. Actually, I've had a few clients say to me, can you actually come to my house? So that might be something that I'm looking at for this year. To say, I will pay you to come to my house. So that's something we're looking at introducing this year. But once you're organised in the house and you have space to breathe, and I know it's so out there at the moment, but the old decluttering thing, but it works. So once you have space to breathe as a mum and space to sit down and finish a cup of tea instead of leaving, 10 cups around the house.
That's it, yeah.
Finish a cup of tea, you can actually sit with yourself and just yourself and go, wow. And that's when we can start, peeling back those layers of the onion, and I get to know the client that's under all of that overwhelm and go, okay, now I've given you breathing space. Let's talk about the fun stuff. So and it's really about,
it's a moment of enlightenment, isn't it? Like when they finally get that bit of inner freedom where they sit down and they realize, hey, it's just me. I've got this time. That is an enlightening moment and an empowering moment. So if they can actually get to that point, they will build on that, and it becomes the norm then, doesn't it? Because they make the time to find that.
And I call it white space in the calendar. I always have my clients put white space in, which means nothing's scheduled. They're like, oh my God. And I go, no, nothing's scheduled for that time. Now, your white space could be that you take one of your children individually, one at a time, to have a hot chocolate with you or go for a play in the park. That could be your white space. Now, I'm not saying your white space has to be you going to get a massage. Your white space could be one-on-one time with each individual child. And, not time rushing around, but just time going for a walk together.
Yep.
And just sitting and talking and actually talking to your children. Instead of racing them around to 101,000 activities, which they actually don't need, by the way. and just being able to sit and actually get to know your kid and get to know, you know, what's going on in their life, and actually having those real conversations, which we're so busy at the moment that we're missing out on these amazing, precious little human beings that we have in our house, and their thoughts and their opinions and what actually is going on. I find in the car's the best time to have those conversations, because you're not looking directly at them, or walking the dog. We do a lot of them walking the dog, because you're not looking at each other, you know, you're walking side by side.
And how many times do you find things out about your kids that you didn't know because you haven't had the time to listen to them? Maybe they've been trying to say, hey mum, and it's just like, I'll get to you in a minute, just hang on, I've got something to do, you know. And when you find those quiet times to sit down, as you say, spend the time with that child or that teenager, and there's so much more you will learn about them when they actually have the freedom to, you know, feel comfortable that, oh, mum's got the time, I might bring this up with her now. Hey, did you know that I'm really interested in doing this? You know, can we look into me going and learning, you know, piano or guitar or dance or whatever it is? So they're nuggets of gold, those little pockets of time, as you said, that white space where you'll learn so much more about your children if you choose to do that kind of activity with them, definitely.
Yeah. And if you find, you know, if you have a schedule for your washing, for your cleaning, you know, standard operating procedures, you know, if you have that in place and you have a system that works for you, and everybody's individual, so I help them find what system works for them, just because of shift work and everything like that, you know, because our household is purely shift work. So when you find what works for you, you then will find the white spaces, because you're not constantly chasing your tail. And, you know, some of those conversations could be, Mum, I've been going to ballet for 10 years, and you know what? I actually hate it.
Yeah,
but I've just kept it up because I thought that's what you wanted me to do.
That's right,
Yeah, so it's being able to have those conversations with our children and just go, you know, society, I think, has put so much pressure on us that our kids have to achieve, or that they have to achieve more than what we did, I guess is the best way to put it. And it's funny, you know, I have a child who actually didn't need primary school. We were told at 4 he didn't need primary school. So my son at 5 was in year 7. So, and, you know, going to different schools, we did go to primary school a couple of days a week just because of the socialisation. But, you know, my son, and it's funny, at gifted school, when we first met the principal, she said to us, you know, well, what do you want him to achieve while he's with us? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question. And she said, well, we have children come to us, you know, they want to get into double degrees, you know, in the major universities around Australia, or they want to go overseas to Harvard or go to England and go to Cambridge. And I remember looking at my husband and we both burst out laughing. And we said, actually, we assume he's going to end up in a lab somewhere because that's how his brain works, you know, in a white coat somewhere. But I said, as long as he can leave that lab at the end of the day and go to the pub with his mates. As long as he is happy. Or, you know what, a trade's pretty good. I'd be happy if he went into a trade. And I said, at the end of the day, we've just, look, if your kid is happy and healthy and has friends and has a support network,
that's
really, that's it.
That is.
That's it. And COVID has shown us that the mental health, especially of our teenagers, who, you know, haven't seen their friends, haven't had that socialization, have missed out on major milestones, their mental health is more important to anything. So we really need to take a step back. No, I'm not saying you don't want your kids to achieve. Of course, we all want our kids to achieve, and we want them to achieve whatever they want to do. They want. We've got to stop thinking, you know, oh, well, next door's sister's brother's hairdresser's kid got into whatever. Why can't you do that? We've got to stop that. We can still be that supportive parent, but we've got to stop living through our children because COVID has shown us that, you know, we're losing kids. And we've got to be able to take that step back and say, you know what, I'm going to give you the space and the grace. I talk about it, space and grace, to do what lights you up as well. So if you see mum doing what lights her up,
Yep.
You're showing them that, hey, I want to pursue a passion in this area. At the moment, the passion in our house is robotics. I know nothing about robotics, but hey, that's the passion. So we're going that way.
Yeah, and that's great. Yeah.
Let's just, take the step back and go, okay, kid, what do you actually want to do? And have those conversations, and I will support you. I will, take you to the university. I will find companies you can intern at. I will do all that. I'll support you if that's what you want to do. But having that white space in the day where we can actually talk to our child and have the child know with confidence that they can say to us, actually, I've pretty much hated dance for the last 4 years, and us not to be disappointed in them.
Yeah. And that's what I think, and working mums play many roles, and they want to be the best in all of them. And, the role of a mother, worker and partner requires nothing less than their best. That's what they're thinking. And it sometimes leads to a feeling of not being able to say no ever. And that's where a lot of the problem comes in. We don't say no. We just keep saying, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I could do this. I'll be there to pick you up. And you just need to say no and keep that white space. Don't fill that white space up too quickly. Keep that white space by saying, no, we're not scheduling anything for there. That's white space for whatever pops up on the day or in the moment. All right, then, Katrina, we'll just take a little break and listen to one of the show's sponsors, and we'll be back with you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, Glo-getters, have you heard about Kickass Women? Founded by Jo Sainsbury, Kickass Women is dedicated to empowering and supporting women who are considering a career change into an industry role. Visit our brand new website at www.kickasswomen.com.au or follow Kickass Women on Facebook and LinkedIn today to keep up to date with all things Kickass Women and the incredible opportunities and content we have for you. See you there, Glo-getters.
Thanks for tuning back in, listeners. And we're chatting with Katrina Worm from Stress Free Supermum, life and empowerment coach. So, Katrina, thanks for coming and joining back in on the show. In a time when self-care is a trending term, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, how do you categorise your work, and what are some of your self-care go-tos?
So I think with, self-care, it's become a buzzword. Especially in the last couple of years. And as I said, you see marketing and advertising agencies saying, self-care, I say the old bubble bath or the massage or the getting your hair and nails done. Now, that's just part of it. Self-care for me, and what I talk to my clients about, and we mentioned it just earlier, the first thing is being able to say no. And being able to say no to things that don't light you up. And no is a full sentence. And I actually have a program, and all it is about is how to say no, or how to trust in yourself to say no. So self-care is about boundaries as well, and knowing what your boundaries are for yourself, and also how you deserve to be treated. So self-care is about respecting yourself, because if we don't respect ourselves, what are we showing the world? We're showing the world how to disrespect us. So self-care is about respecting yourself and respecting, who you are. And sometimes we've forgotten that. When we get stuck in this whole merry-go-round of motherhood, we've actually forgotten what our values are and, what we believe in and what, I guess, our point of view on the world is. And it's digging back into that. So self-care, as I said, a little bit is the physical stuff, but a lot of self-care is about being able to sit with yourself and actually learning to love yourself again. And I know to a lot of people that sounds a bit douchey, and I'm not talking about the selfish, egotistical person, because we all know somebody like that. But self-care is about knowing, actually, that doesn't sit well with me and that doesn't sit well with my values. So actually, I don't think I want to do that. And self-care is about, being able to be at a party and say, actually, I'm getting tired. Thank you so much for having me, but I'm heading home.
It's about learning to retell the story of your own self, isn't it? Like, it's not like, as you said, I'm not staying just to keep up appearances. When I'm ready to go, I need to say I'm ready to go. And exactly what you said. I am tired. I'm ready to, I really need to go home to bed. And that comes back to a lot of the simplicities of self-care, getting enough sleep, eating healthy, staying physically active, because then you're so much in tune with your kids. Then it's and it's teaching them, good practices there as well.
And it's also, and it's not, it's teaching our children how to be healthy.
Yeah.
Not teaching our children to watch their weight or anything like that.
Right.
I think we've gone a bit too far down that path, but it's teaching our children to say, let's go outside and, let's play and let's have time in nature. Self-care to me personally, I fill my cup when I'm in nature, and I'm very fortunate. I live on a property with horses and with a dog. So my self-care is, I'm actually an introvert, and I've had people, I've stood on stages in front of thousands of people and given seminars, and I come off stage and I go, and I need quiet time to, rebuild that energy. And people say to me, how the hell are you an introvert? It's because I know myself well enough to know that, I need to get my feet in the sand, or I need to go outside and sit with a tree. I know, but I know that sounds, but for me, it's connecting back to spending time with my horses, because any of your listeners who have a horse, if you're stressed or your heart rate's up, or if you're in a foul mood, your horse is going to tell you. So it's being able to go, okay, buddy, I just need to quiet myself down. So self-care to me is saying no, is not taking on the thousands of projects. And when you say no, you're not saying you don't love that person,
That's
or
right.
you don't respect that person, or
Just
you
not
don't
at
want to
this
be their
time.
friend. Just saying, look, can I get back to you? I would love to help you, in the next week or so, but this week I'm, got a lot on, but can get back to me in a week. It could be just deferring it, or it could be saying, look, at the moment, I really just don't have the time for it, but thanks so much for asking me. Or it could just be no.
Yeah.
No's a full sentence. And we don't need to feel guilty about that. We've been brought up as females, we've been brought up as a generation where, we had to say yes. And we all know, I know this is shocking in this day and age. We've just come into 2022, but females carry more of the workload in the house than males do. We know that. I'm so fortunate that in our household, that is not true. Now, I don't know whether that's because I don't accept that, or whether that's because I was fortunate I married somebody and we share the load equally.
Workload, yeah. I think that's a healthy relationship when each partner shares, because that is, that's the guts of your partnership. You share in everything, whether it be, your feelings, your intimacy, your chores, your finances. It's all about that partnership, and partnerships are sharing. So
it's about having that conversation before you get into the partnership.
That's right, yeah.
And just saying, where do you feel on these things? But, to me, self-care is, for me, it's time out. So it's those white spaces, and that's just time just to sit and contemplate. Like, I know what I'm doing every day. Like, I know, because I've planned out.
Include affection, like, accept hugs and affection from the kids and return it. That's so embodying and empowering when, you have those little precious moments of that hug and that little kiss, and kids sitting on your lap, or, take that as self-care and embrace it. And, it's such a warm and fulfilling feeling, isn't it, when you get those precious moments.
Yeah. And as a mum, never let go first.
No, that's it. Yep.
When you're hugging, if your child wants a hug, or I'm a hugger, so I will probably hug my 14-year-old, a couple of times a day. Never let go first, because the child needs those endorphins, and hug gives endorphins. But just a tip for mums: if there's a hug happening, you never let go first.
And that's right. And I'm a hugger, and I still hug my 30-year-old and 26-year-olds. That's just the practice, and they know that, they're attuned to that. But all right then. So getting onto work-life balance, I always refer to it as a weigh bridge. So, people look at scales and that, and in my terminology, I call it a weigh bridge. So what is your weigh bridge look like to you, and how do you work to achieve that, like your work-life balance?
So look, it's never going to be balanced because you're going to need to make choices.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to make sacrifices either side. If as a mum, if you work outside the home, there's a sacrifice because your children have to be taking care of somebody else. If you want to be good at your work, there's a sacrifice. If you want to be a stay-at-home mum, there's a sacrifice because it might be monetary, that you're not bringing in, money because you've chosen to stay at home. And every one of those situations is okay. But work-life balance, I think, is a misnomer because it's you making choices of where you want that balance to sit, and you need to be happy with those choices. And I think for us, our work-life balance before COVID was we had an au pair living with us. So we actually had somebody living in. So for mums who aren't able to do that, your work-life balance means you need to delegate. Delegate is my favorite word.
Yep.
You need to delegate because you cannot do it all. And I set up, a Facebook group called Stress Free Supermum because I truly believe that, I think there's an old African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. For me, it takes a village to raise a mother.
Yeah.
Because we weren't meant. So I'm going to get on my soapbox.
Yeah, you're all right.
So pre-industrial revolution, we lived in villages, right?
Yep.
So we didn't parent our child by ourselves. Our child was parented by a whole village.
Family, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we had the family, the extended family all lived with us, or we had the aunties and uncles, or we had a village.
Yeah.
And then, even to Benno Brown, I think, says this really well, the women would go and wash their clothes by the river. Yep. And then they suddenly got washing machines and depression went through, and anxiety went through the roof.
Loneliness.
Because we need other women. So you need a village. Now, I don't have family close by. All my family and my husband's family are sometimes states away, countries away. So we had nobody. So I had to build my own village and reach out for help. And I think as mums, that's the hardest thing to do, is to be able to put our hands up and go, I actually need help. I need help here. And I need to, so that's why, mother and baby groups are fantastic. So start building your village and, reach out for help. I've got people that I've brought into our house that, became godparents to my son, sort of like grandparents that were close by, but I invited into our lives when he was tiny to be able to build my village. And I want a community of women where you can go and say, okay, anybody got ideas on breastfeeding? Anybody got ideas on this? Anybody got ideas? Because we need a village. We need to be able to not think that we have to do it all. And we need to be able to say to our partners and our husbands, actually, I need help. So whether that's help in then we get a cleaner in once a week, whether that's help in that a group of your friends get together and you all cook your favorite meal, but you make enough for everybody in that room. So there might be 6 of you, you all come together, you cook all different meals, but you make enough so that you then go home with 6 different meals that you haven't cooked. If you do that once a month, but we need to start bringing those practices into being where we can get together with friends and say, I actually need some time out from my kids. Can we organise a day where we go to the park and I just sit for 5 minutes and you watch the kids, and then I'll do that for you next week. We need to start asking for that support because we actually can't do it all. And delegation comes back into the house. Children as young as toddlers can fold stuff. Trust me.
That's it.
They can fold stuff. Children as young as toddlers can put their Lego or their Duplo at that age into a bucket.
But there you are, right there
early.
saying that. You're teaching motor skills by doing that, folding, identifying shapes, it's all about learning. It's all about learning and being present. And like you hit the nail on the head there with My Way Bridge. My 3 things are like setting boundaries. Definitely, you need to set boundaries. You need to stay connected, very much stay connected. You need your friends, you need your family, you need the connection with your kids and your partner, and ask for help, enlist help. And the option of delegating tasks, well, that's a smart way to make your life less stressed and hectic, isn't it? It's simple and it's easy. Once you put those boundaries in place and those routines in place, life becomes so much more easier and relaxed and, fulfilling, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I've had, people say to me, oh, look, but I do everything for my kids. They're teenagers now. They're not going to want to do anything for themselves. And I go, okay, so just stop doing it. Stop doing their washing and see what happens. And they go, oh, well, they'll just dirty clothes. They'll just wear the same clothes. And I go, the first day they go to school without their sports uniform, or the first day they go to school with, if they don't have a uniform, without that top that they really love, they'll learn really quickly that, hang on, mum's not doing that for me anymore. So sometimes we need to take a step back because it's a win-win. We're actually getting time back where we can actually do something else. And we're actually teaching our children responsibility, chores, the satisfaction of a child, learning to cook from a little age. Kitty cutter. My friend over in Perth makes these amazing knives called kitty cutter, K-I-K-K-I, cutter. So little ones can actually cut up vegetables and don't cut themselves. And she's actually now put out knives for adults as well that have motor skill difficulties. So you can actually have a child standing next to you on a stool. So when did we stop doing that? Our grandma era, I remember cooking with my grandma, standing next to her cooking. We've sort of missed a generation. So delegation isn't about you just getting rid of the stuff you don't want to do.
Not being
delegation is actually showing somebody that you have faith in them. And we do it in our jobs all the time. We do it at work all the time. I delegate at work all the time because delegation to me is saying to somebody, I actually have faith in you to be actually give you this job. I actually talk about delegation being a gift, and I actually talked about that in Back Yourself, one of the books I'm in, which is a compilation. But delegation to me is a gift. It's not only a gift for me, but it's a gift to the person I'm delegating to, because it's actually showing I have faith in you.
It's trust.
Because I'm giving you this job. And if we can show our children that, and oh my God, they're going to fail. And oh my God, they're not going to fold the clothes the way you do it. They're not going to hang clothes on the line the way you do it. Trust me, they're not going to stack the dishwasher the way you do it. But guess what? You need to let that stuff go.
Definitely. And I was big on that. Like, I made sure my boys could cook because, back in my generation, well, my husband couldn't cook. He's hopeless, but he's better now. but I made sure my boys learnt to cook, and they would cook with me. So they're great, and they become independent at a good age, especially when you were working full time, and they get the bus home from school, so they were able to make themselves something to eat, and then they were able to say, I could ring them up, or I'd leave them a note in the morning at home, say, can you get this prepared for dinner tonight? So I'd come home and whatever the veggies would be peeled and cut and chopped, or spaghetti bolognese would be on the go. But you need to teach them those skills, and you need to teach them that independence, because that's part of life, and everyone needs independence, and everyone needs those life skills. That's the way.
And we've forgotten that. I always say your children need to know at least 6 meals they can make from scratch, because then they can feed themselves. They need to know how to balance money and how to budget. And we need to teach them in the house. The Barefoot Investor's fantastic.
It is. Greatest book ever put out. That he
He's great. The kids' book is
Yeah.
fantastic, getting your kids to budget, and that's what we use and what I get my clients
Yeah.
to use. They need to know how to wash their clothes.
Yeah.
They need how to fold them and put them away. Guess what? They need to know how to clean a toilet. If anybody in this household says they're bored, they get handed a toilet brush.
Yep.
They need to know how to clean a bathroom and properly. They need to know, how to clean up after themselves. And, they're things that kids were doing generations ago.
Yep.
And as you said, we, on a Sunday, a part of Sunday setup, as soon as veggies come home, they get washed in a little bit of vinegar in the sink. They get chopped then. So that way they're all in the fridge, all chopped, ready to go. So during the week, all you need to do is grab a handful of whatever veggie and it's already chopped and ready to go. So I make everything as simple as possible. So that way the children can do it. And guess what? Your children can do it. When do we lose faith in our children? They can do it.
And look at the enjoyment you see in their face when they are doing those things themselves. They're engaged, and you want that engagement. So it's great advice, Katrina. So I know, and I congratulate you on being a multiple award-winning coach and author of a number of best-selling books. You're an avid writer. So would you like to share any of those stories with us, or one in particular, namely Wear Your Warrior? Tell us all about that.
So, look, Wear Your Warrior came out of a publisher basically hounding me saying, people need your story, people need your story. So, you mentioned in the intro, we've had, I call them curveballs.
Yep.
I actually call them dwarf planet size curveballs. And look, everybody's going to have curveballs in their life, and curveballs are going to be different for every person. So, we've lost 7 babies. One of them died in my husband's arms on Father's Day. So, and then, with our son having, he's had brain surgery at one stage, which was extremely scary, handing your child over to basically have his brain pierced with a massive needle. So, things have happened in our lives that haven't been great. They haven't been fantastic. I remember after our son's funeral, I came home and my pony died the next day. Things are going to happen in our life.
Yeah.
And you need to make a choice of how you want to deal with that. And at the end of the day, the only control we really have is control over ourselves. We can have influence over other people, but we only really have control over ourselves. So Wear Your Warrior is about a coaching technique called a 5-star technique. And it's about, sometimes in life, you actually need to put on a different uniform, or put on a cloak, or put on that persona where you go, you know what, I'm going to get this done. And it's something that I step into when I'm speaking. If I'm walking up on a stage of 1,000 people, I go, okay, Wonder Woman warrior, instigate type of thing. And so it's about being able to call on that confidence, or call on that person to say, you know what, this is me and I've got it. So Wear Your Warrior, how I've done it is each chapter has a little bit of my story. So it might be the story, I'm ex-military as well.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of that in there. So every little bit has a little bit of my story of what I've done through my life. I grew up with a mother who is bipolar, so suffering from manic depression. So a little bit is a story about that, a little bit of story about our son and his health. I talk about law of attraction and how that shows up. And I know that's a bit woo-woo, and everybody just goes, law of attraction. Yeah, you know what? There's other laws rather than law of attraction. And the big thing about law of attraction, which the book The Secret didn't really go into, I think that was, a book everybody ran out and bought because it was going to show you how to get everything out of your life. The law of attraction, the extra little thing is actually you need to get off your ass and actually do the work.
Exactly.
So all through the book, it's a little bit about my story, and then different techniques that mums can actually put into their lives straight away. So I've actually got tools and techniques I've put throughout the book that you put the book down and you can actually go and do it. And it's funny, when the editor was going through it, she rang me after the first couple of chapters And I said, oh, how's it going? Well, you know, what do I need? Do I need to rewrite? And she said, no. She said, I'm an editor. And she said, I think the second or third chapter, she went, oh my God, I need to do that. And she said, I started reading it as a reader.
Yep.
Instead of editing it. And she said, then you had me.
Yeah.
So I talk about, you know, a little bit about time management. Now, we can't manage time. Nobody can manage time.
No.
But it's how we plan and organize ourselves. So I talk about a little bit about that. But a lot of it is techniques that I actually coach my clients on. So you're basically getting me, you know, for $24.95. Do you know what I mean? So I've put as much as I can into the book. So it really talks about what actually a coach is and what a coach does. But I've given you so many techniques and tools. I talk a little bit about decluttering and have you condoed, because Marie Kondo was the thing, and how that shows up in our lives, and how physical decluttering is actually, people don't realize that, but it's more about clearing mental space.
Yes, it is. That's right. The mental fog. That's exactly right. Yep.
So Where Your Warrior is really, as I said, it's about my story, and it's about female warriors during history and how we can step back into, you know, I call it whatever you want to call it, that Wonder Woman, or that actually I deserve to be on this earth. I deserve to be heard. I deserve to respect myself. I deserve to be a happy, functional, peaceful household. I deserve to be able to get out in the morning and get my kids to school without me yelling or without them yelling back. I deserve that. I deserve to be able to sit and have a cup of tea in the morning before I do the school run and know that my children have packed their own school bags, have made their own school lunch, have got dressed in their own uniform without me intervening. I deserve that. So the books, as I said, it's my personal story. So it's the ups and downs, it's the curveballs, but it's at some stage in our lives, we've just got to stop. And I don't want to be preachy, but sometimes we've actually just got to stop and, you know, and take responsibility for ourselves. And stuff happens in our life that you've got no control over, but you've got the control over how you respond to it. Now, I could be sitting in a corner going, you know, I've had people say to me, oh my God, how do you get up in the morning? I'm like, because I choose to. Do you know what I mean? I've got, you know.
You respond rather than react. You need.
Yeah, and you've got, but that's a choice. And you've got, you know, I've had, 28 surgeries now in the last 20 years because, you know, so many things in my body doesn't work. Like, I actually shouldn't be here, but I choose to get, and I'm in pain a lot of the time, but I choose to get up and I choose to find joy in every day. And I choose to be there for my clients, and I choose to have fun and laugh with a 14-year-old boy, which, trust me, 14 would be one of the hardest ages for poor boys in this world, because so much is going on in their bodies. They've got no frontal lobe, no consciousness. There's nothing else going on. So, do you know what I mean? You've got to choose. And look, I actually choose to be happy. Yeah. And that's a choice.
That's me too.
You know, in the book, and, you know, I talk about all those things. It's raw. I'm honest. I say exactly what's happened. I don't hold anything back. No. I'm transparent. I'm not one of these coaches who's preachy. It's like, you know, do you like where you are now? Well, that's great. Stay there. But if you actually go, you know what? I was put on this earth, I think, to do something more than what I'm doing at the moment. And I was put on this earth to actually show my children, you know, how to live their best life. Well, then I'm that coach. But I'm not a oh, you're so nice and it's so lovely and you're having such a nice day and you're doing such a good job. I'm the coach who will say to you, why the hell haven't you done that yet? Like, what's stopping you? You know, I'm the coach who's, you know, I need 10 more reps.
Accountable. You're an accountable coach, and that's what a coach is supposed to be. Keep you accountable.
You know, and that's all coaching really is
that's it.
Having somebody, you tell me what you want to do and I'll bloody make sure you get there.
That's right. And inspiration is everywhere. So whether it's the words from your favourite writer to whether it's, you know, when you go out, maybe if you get to go out and walk the dog, you just have to open your eyes and breathe it in and take it on board and then action. yourself. As you said, you need to be responsible for yourself and your actions. So in your world now and in your space, what's your next project? What have you got coming up? Anything?
So for me, it's actually putting Sunday setup into a course.
Oh, excellent.
So as I said, I normally do Sunday setup one-on-one, but I've had so many people reach out and go, can you actually make a course? So that's my sort of next couple of months project, is do all the videos for that and actually make a course that people just go on the website and buy.
Yeah.
What I try and do as a coach is to make myself affordable for everybody. Because you've got to remember, when I started, I was coaching mums of neurodiverse children, and trust me, they're shelling out enough money at the moment to trying to get advocacy for their children.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make it that I had courses, for say $59 or $79 that they can quickly just download, get a series of PDFs and just start.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm about. Just start.
Wow.
Just make today, not one day, but day one. Just start. And whether that's just buying Wear Your Warrior for $24.95. And look, for today, guess what? Don't pay shipping, okay? If you go into the website, Stress Free Supermum, and you want Wear Your Warrior, in the discount coupon box, just put in free shipping and I'll take shipping off.
All right.
But just start. The other book, Back Yourself, is a beautiful book, and I've co-written that with 28 other business women all around Australia.
Osmumpreneur, that's a great book, and I congratulate you on that too, because I've been privileged to become part of that community this year, and it's an excellent network of amazing mums and business women, great role models, mentors, and lots of coaches in there. So definitely well worth purchasing and acquiring and owning and reading that book. Yes. Yeah.
And look, for Back Yourself, people, if you want that, go onto my website as well and put free shipping in, and I'll take the shipping off that one as well.
Yeah.
Because what I want, these are not tools, but these are books, both of, Back Yourself and Wear Your Warrior. These are books, they're easy to consume. I've had women ring me and said, I read Wear Your Warrior in one night. I didn't want to put it down. I just read it straight through. What I actually want you to do is, though, to stop and go and implement the stuff in the book. But you can you can read it right through if you want to. And Back Yourself, it's same. It's true. It's raw. It's got real stories of females in Australia today of how they started their businesses, what challenges they came up against, what suggestions that they can give you. So, back yourself, reach out to people. And, as I said, just going over what I was just talking about is, I've said to clients have said to me, oh, I'd love to work with this person, or I'd love to work with that person. I go, well, send them an email, find their contact details, reach out to them. What's the worst that can happen? And I found, with the Women's Business School, the Osmumpreneur Network, it's a network all around Australia of women who actually, want to future their own business, but are actually there to support other women. And when I, mentioned earlier about building a village, hey, this is one pretty good village to be part of. So if you've ever thought, hey, I'd love to do this, or I'd love to build my own business, or I'd love to learn out how to do that, there's, no other business school, I think, in Australia that looks after mums the way they do.
That's right. All right, then, Katrina, look, it's been a great conversation today to have with you. I'm just going to refer to my notes here because I wanted to. So we'll put your links up in the show notes and on our website for anyone wanting to reach out to you. And did you have anything special that you wanted to offer to the listeners or to the mums out there? Because we can definitely plug it now and let it be known.
Look, something I'd love to do for your listeners, I'm going to run, I have a 90-day program called Women Taking Flight, which is a little bit of pun on, working for Qantas, and WTF, if you do the abbreviation. But it really is, it's a 90-day program. It's what you get is a worksheet every week. You get me live every week in a Zoom call where you can ask questions. And really it's basically broken down into discover, so looking at where you are now, decluttering, and I'm not just talking about physical, although I do run a physical challenge in there, but decluttering a lot of the stuff that's holding you back in your life. And that could be toxic people as well. So we talk about people in our life who, you know, you start something new and they're the people that say to you, oh, that won't work. Oh, you'll never be able to do that. So we talk about how to handle those. And then the last part of the program is design. And that's where we look at, you know, your next 3 months. So it's basically having a coach, but not having to outlay, you know, that initial investment of having a one-on-one coach. So it's a beautiful group program. A lot of success I've had over the last couple of years with it. I traditionally only run it twice a year. So I'm going to start running it again in February. So if anybody's interested, what I would love to do is, normally I price it around $1,995. But if anybody's interested, just for your readers, the listeners, and if they reach out to me, we'll take it down to $1,495. I'll throw in both books. So you'll get Wear Your Warrior and Back Yourself. And also for the first 10 people who reach out to me on, if you reach out to admin@katrinaworm.com.au, for this first 10 people, I'm going to send you magnetic planners for your fridge as well, which is something I swear by. But it's something, as I said, we'll be kicking off in February. So have a think about it. So for 90 days, so for 3 months, you get me weekly. For an hour a week. You also get the worksheet sent out to you. I also sent out a welcome pack. You know, my favourite stores are Officeworks and the Container Store in the US and Staples. So I'm a bit of a stationery lover. I also send a welcome pack out with folders and pens and notebooks.
Organisational.
Yes.
Resource.
So I so you get that as part of the pack as well.
Excellent.
But look, if anybody's interested, the program's called Wear Your Warrior. So just send me an email, admin@katrinaworm.com.au, and say, hey, I'm interested in Wear Your Warrior. Can I get more? Interested in women taking flight. Can you send me more information about it?
No worries. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes. And once again, we thank you for your valuable time and the excellent conversation today. I'm sure the listeners have gained a lot of new insight out of that, and it's piqued their interest. So quite welcome to stay around, Katrina. We're going to wrap up the show, and we look forward to chatting to you later in 2022 to see where you are in your journey and how you've taken flight.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, then. Well, that's it, guys. I do hope you have enjoyed our show and our very special guest, Katrina Worm, stress-free supermum coach. Thanks to Katrina for sharing so much of her invaluable information and her time with us today. I hope you've all found the information inspiring and that it gives you something to ponder and perhaps definitely take action with. Working mums have it tough, but being committed fully to work and family, it's an impossible task that working mums have to take on, but it doesn't have to be that hard. And it can be exhausting and thankless, but you need to be present and you need to take your responsible action into managing your time the best you can. And it's possible to pursue a fulfilling life, being a mum, being a partner, being a friend. That's by being responsible to yourself. So thanks again to Katrina, and by all means, reach out to her if you need some assistance and you need some guidance. She's the lady to talk to. Focus on the positive things in your life and focus on contributing to your own personal life and success. All right. Thanks again for listening. I really appreciate you giving me your time to spend with me and my guests today. Keep in touch. It's not goodbye, but see you later. Stay safe and take care, and we'll catch up with you next week. Go on, get your glow on. Become a glow-getter.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Kickass Radio, where we kick goals and deliver empowering conversations for women. Want to hear more from Kickass Women and Jo Sainsbury? Visit the Kickass Women website or follow Kickass Women on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. See you on the next episode of Kickass Radio.